Step 5 of the NOTDivorce system. And I created the NOTDivorce system and I successfully used it in my own California divorce to avoid getting absolutely destroyed. So I got a W. So step 5 is a settlement agreement. So it's after you've served her. The settlement agreement is actually basically like your first proposal of what each you and her is going to take away from the marriage, and the courts will enforce that. Well, if someone has a dispute, the courts will enforce it if they accept your settlement agreement, which they basically always do if the husband and wife like come to an agreement on their own. The courts will basically always accept it. So my settlement agreement that I proposed was everything before the I acquired before the marriage, mine. Everything I acquired during the marriage, also mine. Everything she had before the marriage, hers. Everything she acquired during the marriage, also hers. Anything we had jointly titled, which means, in legal terms, means had both of our names on it, we split 50-50. So we did have 3 bank accounts, and with a total of $1,300 total. So we split that 50-50, like $650 to her, $650 to me. And she accepted it. We didn't negotiate at all. I do remember right before, literally the day of signing, the 11th hour, you got to sign in front of a notary. She was trying to say, oh, what if you put me on the street? I want you to pay for some of my rent, blah, blah, blah. So she did try to put stuff in like at the 11th hour while we were in the car in the parking lot, just parked at the notary to sign the settlement agreement. I told her, no, we'll talk about it. Actually, I didn't tell her no. I told her, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. She kept trying, we'll talk about it. And I kept saying, we'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. And eventually, I don't know if she stopped, then we got out of the car, or if I got out of the car and she stopped. And then we went in and signed the settlement agreement. Both had to have our IDs. And at that point, your divorce is basically done. So if you want one-to-one help implementing this non-divorce system, get into contact with me ASAP, because my prices do increase $5,000 for every new client I get.